Lee Priest's arms were so insane they didn't even look real. At just 5'4", he looked like he was carved out of marble, walking around with arms that could rival bodybuilders a full foot taller than him, and that's what made him different. He wasn't the tallest guy on stage, but his arms were legendary. Today, we're going deep into the brutal, chaotic, and hilarious story of Lee Priest's arm workouts. This wasn't your average 3 sets of curls and call it a day. No, Priest trained his arms with a level of intensity that bordered on insanity. We're talking 20-plus sets, endless supersets, constant pumping, and hours of non-stop torture. But here's the twist. While most bodybuilders relied on clean, science-based routines, Priest didn't care about studies. He didn't care about form, perfection. He trained by feel. He measured success by the pump. If his arms weren't about to explode by the end, the workout was a failure. So buckle up, because this isn't just a workout breakdown. This is the legend of Lee Priest's arms, and why even today, lifters try his workouts and end up crawling out of the gym. Why Lee Priest's arms were legendary. If you stood Lee Priest next to a 6-foot bodybuilder, you'd swear the taller guy would look bigger. But here's the optical illusion. Priest's short frame actually made his arms look freakishly massive. His measurements, 20, 21, even 22 inches at times, were comparable to men almost a foot taller. When people asked him what it was like to go against big guys at competitions, Priest would laugh. He said, "Don't call them big, call them tall. Their measurements were the same as mine."
The next time someone asks me a question like, "Lee, what's it like to compete with those big guys?" use the word tall, not big. Because really those guys are 6 foot and their measurements are the same as mine, 5'4.5". That makes them the small guys. Pathetic.
At 5'4.5", that makes them the small guys. That was Lee's whole attitude. He flipped the script. Instead of letting his height define him, he used his arms to dominate the stage. Every curl, every push down, every superset, it all fed into the legend of a short guy with some of the biggest arms the sport had ever seen. The brutal training style. Lee Priest's training style was simple. Volume, volume, volume. Where most lifters would hit biceps once a week with maybe 3 exercises, Priest would dedicate entire days to arms alone. He believed that if you wanted to look freaky, you had to train like a freak. That meant 20-plus sets minimum, 15 to 20 reps each, and no half effort. But here's the funny part. He didn't even extend all the way on curls. Instead, he stopped halfway, keeping constant tension. Some lifters laughed at it, saying it wasn't science-based, but Priest didn't care. He wasn't a textbook lifter. He was a results lifter, and the result? His arms blew up like balloons. Superset madness. If there's one thing Priest loved, it was supersets. Cable curls straight into tricep press downs, preacher curls into overhead extensions, skull crushers into close grip bench. The philosophy was clear. Don't rest, don't breathe, just keep pumping. He would literally alternate back and forth between biceps and triceps for hours. By the time most people were finishing their second exercise, Priest had already done 10 supersets. One modern lifter trying his routine said, "It feels like cardio. We're over here looking like idiots. Everyone's staring at us because we're dying, but not on steroids like Priest was." That's how relentless the training was. It felt like a punishment. The pump obsession. Lee Priest didn't measure workouts by sets, reps, or even weight. He measured them by the pump. If my arms aren't exploding, it wasn't a good workout. That was his mantra. He treated the pump like proof that the workout worked. At one point, a lifter joked he felt like SpongeBob blowing up his arms. Another said he was cramping so hard he couldn't even flex properly by the end. And Priest would laugh because that's exactly what he wanted. For Lee, pain was proof. Discomfort was the goal. And the bigger the pump, the closer you got to that freaky round look his arms became famous for. The forearm factor Priest wasn't just about biceps and triceps. His forearms were legendary too. Thick, veiny, and bigger than most people's biceps, they completed his freaky look, and he trained them just as hard. Wrist curls, reverse curls, non-stop squeezing. He once joked, "Their measurements are the same as mine. I'm 5'4". That makes them the small guys. That attitude extended to forearms too. If your arms didn't look complete, you weren't finished. And that's why his arms didn't just look big from one angle, they looked monstrous from every angle. The chaos and culture of the gym. Here's the thing about Lee Priest. He didn't just train hard. He trained loud. He trained chaotic. And he trained with personality. Guys joked mid-set, held each other's hips during cable work, and laughed as people stared. Some said they felt embarrassed because of how insane the routine looked, but Priest thrived on it. At one point, lifters joked about kissing between sets because Priest once did that with a girlfriend in a training video. Another time, someone compared the workout to cardio, saying they felt like idiots. That was the environment, fun, raw, and unfiltered, and it made the brutal routine just a little more bearable. The legacy of the arm workout. So, what's the final verdict on Lee Priest's arm workout? Some said it was too long, too brutal, and filled with too many variations. Others said it gave them one of the best pumps of their life, but everyone agreed on one thing. Priest's arms were legendary for a reason. His high-volume, pump-obsessed, chaos-driven training created one of the most iconic looks in bodybuilding history. He didn't care about science. He didn't care about being short, and he didn't care about looking ridiculous in the gym. He cared about the pump, the grind, and the result. And that's why, to this day, the Lee Priest arm workout is remembered not just as a routine, but as an experience. A test of willpower, volume, and pure insanity. So next time you step into the gym and complain about arm day, just remember, somewhere out there, Lee Priest is laughing and curling until his arms explode. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Lee Priest's insane arm training, make sure to subscribe for more stories about the craziest workouts in bodybuilding history. Drop a comment. Would you rather train like Lee Priest for a day or Rich Piana for a week? Stay relentless.